Hello, I'm Kathleen Benoit, host of Living Well in Montana. Living Well in Montana is a program made possible by a nonprofit organization headquartered in Billings called LIFTT, Living Independently for Today and Tomorrow. LIFTT serves people living with disabilities in 18 counties in southeastern Montana. So it's a big area to fill, and there are a lot of very great services available for people who reach out. Our topic today is parents of children with autism. And I am delighted to have our guest today. Dianne Booth is the Finance Director with LIFTT, and welcome so much for being here.
Thank you.
And a close friend of yours, Liz Miller.
And I am the Career Advancement Manager for Berkshire Home Services, Floberg Real Estate.
And you're also, it sounds like, one of Dianne's closest friends.
We are very long-time friends,
Yes,
and
we
came together with our children, my God, 25 years ago.
Something like that.
Well,
It was
Yes.
25 years ago.
Yep.
I would love to hear the story. So, Dianne, I'm going to have you talk first about your experiences with your son, and then
Sure.
we'll hear Liz's side.
And we'll
Jump
discuss
in.
together
Yes,
here and there.
absolutely.
Yes. So my son is 28, and he's a twin. So all was good. Everything went well for the first 2 years. We compared and said everything was good, all was good. And then a little after his second birthday, things started changing. We noticed different things for Logan. And he wasn't really, he was laughing, he was playing, he was talking, he was communicating, brothers were playing just fine. And then he just started slowing down, and we didn't understand what that meant. And so towards his third birthday, we started asking the pediatrician, and that's when we got a diagnosis of autism. And so after that, the first thing you do is reach out to other parents if you can find them and things like that. And so Liz was one of my first that I knew of in the Billings area.
You
And
knew
so-
Liz, or you knew that she had this
Just-
similar experience?
Similar experiences.
Yes.
Or we just kind of, started talking with each other.
Well, what
And-
happened is I moved here from Hawaii. My husband was active duty military, and we discovered that our son we also had the same thing. Everything fine, fabulous, wonderful. We actually were doing great, and then we went to get our physicals to move from California to Hawaii because they treated it like an overseas post. So you had to get all your inoculations and everything that I hadn't done. So anyway, we got. I remember very distinctly being at the doctor's office, and they had a little glassed-in room where the children could play, and then we were out in the regular waiting room, and our son was running back and forth to us from there and playing, and a gentleman came and sat down at the door where he was and crossed his legs like I've got my legs crossed right now, and kind of blocked him a little bit, so he came running out and he said, "Get out of the way," and came running over to us, and I'm like, "Oh, you've got to apologize," and da-da-da-da, and he did all that. And we had our checkups. They said we were fabulous. Everybody in the place is fabulous. And by the way, we have to have all these shots. And so I'm not going to say one way or the other, but I will say that after he had that MMR shot and all the group of shots together, that's when we started seeing changes after that.
Was it a quick or slow process?
It was slow, and it was. It coincided with our move, And so we had friends there there were 3 of us, and we all had children that were within weeks of each other in age, and they all were developing the same, and everything was fine. And I started seeing some temper tantrums when we were moving, but we thought it's because we were moving, and that was not typical of him. So anyway, we traveled for a month after we left there, before we went to Hawaii, and came here because my husband's from here. And anyway, we thought everything was wonderful. And when we arrived in Hawaii, about 2 days after we'd been there, I realized that my son Zachary was not talking. And I couldn't remember exactly the last time I'd heard him talking, because we were not paying attention. We were having a good time.
And how old was he by this time?
He was 2.5.
2.5.
And that with Logan, it was he was talking a lot too, but he would mix up. He would go to his dad and he would say Nate, and and he knew something was wrong, but he didn't know what it was, and he didn't know how to fix it and things like that. And so it slowly, his conversation leaves, and so that is the beginning of everything. And so they just changed. Logan went from a happy baby to a scared baby. And so
what about
Zachary?
Zach?
He went from happy to angry.
Oh, I can't
and so,
imagine.
yeah, it's
where you have these darling little toddlers.
And then all of a sudden they're
Yeah.
gone. And so then you go down the road of medical, you go down the road of services, you go down the road of meeting other parents. What are you doing? You go down. There's many roads
And
that you have to.
When all this happened, this was before we had computers and things like that.
Yes.
And I had no computer. My cousin in Arkansas had a computer. And I called her and I said, because I was hearing this PDD from the doctor. In the military at that time,
They
we
didn't
had to
like
have
the word autism at that time yet. They
No.
liked PDD.
Yeah, they did, which is pervasive developmental disorder.
I have never heard that.
I know.
Well,
that is
I don't
what
think
they
they
liked.
use it anymore.
No.
But
It's
anyway,
kind of a gone
that's
term.
what they were saying. And we had to have an entire panel. We didn't even get a diagnosis for our son until he was just shy of 4 years old. And that's when we moved here. When we got that diagnosis, my husband could have retired or he could have stayed in. And he said, well, I think I'm going to retire. And they said, oh, please stay. We need you, and you're going to get a promotion and blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, if we stay here where we are, I'll stay. And they said, no, we have to transfer you because that's just the military way. And he said, well, then I'm done. And so he retired, and we came here. And
How did we meet?
I was
I'm trying to
okay. I remember how we
Do
met.
you?
Yes. When we got here, by this time I knew that we had autism that we were dealing with, and I was looking for the Autism Society. And Linda Zermeno is someone we both know, and she was the president of the Autism Society.
And that was here
I
in
do know
Billings.
how we met now.
but it was inactive.
Okay.
And so I said, well, I will do it. Let's get this going. And so I did, and that's how we met.
It is in there. Yeah.
And I had people come over to my house, and it's funny how life turns your head and makes you realize things. You have one perception, and then everything's really not that way. And one of those things was I thought Linda Zermeno well, now she is getting old and she's tired, and I'm going to bring all this energy into this, and it's going to be dynamite, and we're going to all fix the world. And everything
attitude.
really rocked and rolled for about 4 months.
Yeah.
And then
And
everyone is so overwhelmed
with our children
with
now,
our children.
and trying to see what we want to do, what's best for our kids. I
and
mean,
just living with
with
what's going on.
With
And
the
you had
changes.
your hands full.
Yeah.
With your
they
your
changed
whole family.
completely. Well, and they
Yes.
changed completely. Their personalities changed completely, and so you have to first figure out where did this personality come from. why did you lose the things you knew already and things like that? And then you have to go look for services. What's the best?
That was my next
School.
question is were there adequate services when back in the day?
People came to my house and I did not know why. You know, I thought, why are you to my house? I'll never forget that. And I thought, that's how ignorant we are of the services at that time, you know. And so, and then as school developed and things like that, then you learn more of the services that they connect. School kind of connects with other services here and there, somewhat.
I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
We had far better services in Hawaii before we came here. The state of Hawaii was under federal mandate to bring up their special education and mental health services or lose their federal funding, so they were on it. And because of that, when I contacted my cousin to do the computer search
Arkansas?
for me, she overnighted me like a book.
Oh my gosh.
And so I went through that, you know, and I found that basically PDD was talking about autism. And then it was like, well, what do you do for autism?
Right.
And there were all kinds of things. And amongst those things, one of the things was the LOVAS program, which was Applied Behavior Analysis Program. And that is the only one that made sense to me personally. But at that time, no doctors were recommending any particular treatment. They were not.
So you were basically researching and doing what
we were
they
on our
sent
own.
you home. My neurologist that diagnosed Logan sent us home and said, I wish you luck. So, yes.
But
ABA did, I mean, that is something that we fell on, that we relied on quite heavily for for a couple, 2-3 years before.
And we all got together, and there were a few of us got together, and I'm not going to mention everyone's name because one child did very well and
lost his diagnosis.
So we're going to keep his name secret. But anyway, we all went in together and hired this LOVAS specialist that was certified in the LOVAS program out of Salt Lake City. And he came here and worked with our children at each one of our homes. And we paid for that ourselves. I did. Did you do that?
Too.
Yeah.
It was, and it's like a 35 to 40 hour program a week.
Wow.
That they want you to do, and so it's quite intense. Yes, it was an intensive deal, and we had.
When we were in Hawaii, they paid for those individuals to come to our house, and we hired them from the university. And when we got here, we didn't have to pay as much as we had to in Hawaii, but we had to pay it, and we just retired.
Yeah.
But fortunately, our families helped.
Yeah.
Yes.
Clearly.
We came up with
a lot
the money.
of support.
And it was effective.
In its ways, it was. In its ways.
It must have felt at least like a start.
It was.
That program is most effective if you start when the child is 2 years old or less.
Yeah.
And our children were 4 when we started. So
I think
my
Logan
son
was probably 5 even when he started. Yeah.
Well, we had started in Hawaii. So we started when my son was 4, and we moved here while he was 4. So.
And then you raised your sons the rest of the time, or your family's here.
Yes, we've been here ever since. And like I said, my husband's fifth generation here, from a ranching family here. And
we were in Reed Point on a ranch, so that helped.
We didn't live on a ranch.
Yeah.
You had some things in common, but
we are separate. Yes, we.
You
different
probably
ways of
shored
life.
each other up a lot.
Yeah, in different ways we did.
Yes.
We could rely on each other and things, and
that was healthy for you.
It is that
very much.
Yep, it is. Still.
That was my next question. Is
Yeah.
it still? You can.
Sometimes we won't hear from each other for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and then all of a sudden I'll need something, so I'll call her. Or we have a network of moms, that we support on and
Have the services improved in those 22 years or so that?
I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say the schools still struggle a lot. I think they're trying. Autism is hard. Any disability is hard, but it's very hard to find the trained
Yes.
people and to observe. To me, observing the child, learning who the child is a major important part of it. And they lump them together too much, I think.
And Liz,
We've been in this school district during the whole time that our son has been in school.
Yeah, I was never, Logan was not in the Billings school.
you were in the rural area.
Yep.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Difference, yep.
Our first experience was with the Career Center, and Lynn Fendon was there, and I have to say she was fabulous, and that was a wonderful experience, and that's what we thought we were going to expect, but boy, were we wrong the whole way through school.
Yeah.
The Career Center preschool was actually the only time that I could say our son experienced inclusion. And, he will suffer the rest of his life for that lack of inclusion.
Yeah.
Because when we are out and about, and it's still not happening, when we're out and about, other little children have no idea what my son has. And their parents don't have any idea either, because they don't have inclusion. Now, I am a native of North Carolina, and there they do have inclusion. And when we go back to visit, everybody knows, from the time he was little, other kids knew, oh, you have autism. My friend so-and-so has autism. And it's still that way. Even as an adult, little kids know, because they
Oh, sure.
they
Of course
experience
they do.
that.
Right.
And that is something that I really think needs to be worked on here. There are decades of proven room designs that will help the child with autism with their
Any
In the
needs.
classroom.
disability,
Yes,
yeah.
and then the other kids
In
are
the
still,
mainstream.
yes,
Yeah.
still
Or
in the
just
class.
inclusion, even if it isn't in the classroom, inclusion down the halls, inclusion at the lunchroom, inclusion at
I want it in the
assemblies.
classroom, too.
Exactly. But it's
Still
inclusion.
fighting. Clearly.
Yeah, inclusion in all aspects of school. Inclusion in the homecoming parade. I
Yeah.
remember Logan was not included with that, and I thought,
sorry.
why does he have to stand on the sideline
Yeah.
and everybody
Right.
else is on the float? It didn't make any sense to me.
Right.
So those kind of things, yes.
And I will also say another place that we, here in this school district, where we had a wonderful experience was Rose Park School. And shortly after we transferred there, now our home school is Arrowhead. And when I went to Arrowhead and looked at it with the open room concept, I knew that would not be a possibility for us.
And tell me why. I'm sorry, I don't understand
Okay, the open room
if that would be
concept.
threatening or include.
Well, first of all, you've got first graders over here and second graders over here and third graders over there and fourth graders over there, and everybody's having different lessons, and there would be absolutely no possibility for my son to focus on anything in that setting.
It'd be chaos.
Yes.
Okay, thank
And
you.
he would create chaos.
Okay.
So we ended up going to Rose Park, and the teacher in the classroom, it was not an inclusive, it was a special ed classroom, but the school itself had so many opportunities for all the kids to be together. And the principal, the lady that was the principal when we went there was wonderful, and shortly thereafter, Jay Limlin replaced her, and he was the best principal we've ever had at any school during our whole career. And they had the expertise that they had at that school was amazing. The speech pathologist, there were just and the aid that they assigned to my son, everything was really well done, and he was all the kids knew each other. And then they closed those 3 schools. And when they did, they forgot all about that special needs class. And until the last minute. And
Things-
then
yeah.
they transferred that class over to another school, which was a disaster.
Oh dear.
And it never was. We had one other great opportunity with one teacher at Meadowlark, and that was Deb Goodell. She actually took the whole class to Mount Rushmore. Now they cut that off because they did too well. So they didn't allow them to do that again. But all those aides in her classroom, she started a cooking class. I mean, she had a little cooking class, and they helped cook, and then they were encouraged to try the foods. Another thing that happens with children with autism is they frequently are very, very limited on what they'll eat. And
Such
so,
as?
Some of them, like
everyone is different. You're
That's
right.
exactly right. All of them are different, but it is some have
That's interesting.
Yeah,
It
have
is.
those things too, where they
And-
only want to eat certain things. Now Logan always had a good diet with everything, but
Well, that's
he was
good.
but still
Yeah.
some are like that.
We
So-
were very limited. So when in this class, she
They would
said,
teach them.
Deb said that Zach was her best trier.
There you go.
He would try all these things, and now he's got a much broader acceptance of every kind of food
Because of that experience.
Yeah.
that started it.
That's
and then
great.
we cook all. My husband he thinks he's a chef.
Oh,
you know.
good.
Yeah.
So
There you go.
I need to fast forward to today
okay.
and talk a little bit about the journey that your adult sons are now on, and I'm wondering if there were facilities for adults. I know Special K and Eric's
Ranch
or
was
Eric's
was
Ranch.
part of that. Was supposed to be
But-
part of it. Yes,
because
it was.
as your children grew, did the autism grow with them? I mean, did they?
Well, let me
they're the
just say
same
this.
as they were as a kid. Yeah,
yeah.
they. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think Eric's Ranch never really got going yet. I do have some ideas about that. Remind me, though, 'cause
Okay,
we were
good.
talking about it last night, and
Keep that a secret.
I have some
Yeah.
new ideas that I didn't know about before. So,
Okay.
but anyway, and the Special K Ranch is
We
a good place for people that are very submissive. It is not a good place for people like my son who will
They're-
balk.
Well, they need their. To me, services for your kid, you have to find that with your own family. You know what's best for your own family,
Right.
and so and those are there, but they're who knows if they fit for your family or not, and things like that. And so they're awesome opportunities, things like that. So right now where Logan is at is he's in an apartment with a roommate with 24-hour care. So my kid, Logan, ended up nonverbal, and so that is a big deal when they're not
still a
verbal.
challenge.
Yes.
Still a challenge.
And so they have to, so he has to have 24-hour care. So, and we got the funding through the state eventually. That's a 20-year process also. So
Or
that
more.
takes, it takes a lot of work. And you have to set up how you want your son to live, and you do the best you can. I mean, there's still things that I know are not what I would choose, but we're doing the best we can. But you need to think of guardianship, you need to think of services, you need to think of the medical piece, if you have those that you have to deal with. I mean, advocacy, all of those things you need to
Special
think
needs
of.
trust.
You need, the special needs trust or some sort of way financially. You have to set them up financially. You have to, the Social Security aspect, all of those things which LIFTT can help with.
I was just going to say, What do you do?
LIFTT.
Who can you call? And you can.
You can call LIFTT for that. If you have, even if your kid is still school age, please call LIFTT and get the process started and things like that. So
See, I did not know
those
about LIFTT.
are
So I went myself.
Yeah.
exactly,
Social
most
Security.
do, but LIFTT can. Yeah, if you don't know, LIFTT is available to help you through those
Then
things.
to navigate it, because I know
Yes.
I know it can be overwhelming.
It's a process.
But if people are listening today, first of all, I want to ask you both, what is your advice to a parent whose child has autism? What is, if they haven't reached out for help, what shall they do?
Find your support. Find your support, and you can find that. I mean, you can find it.
Yes, you can.
Find
There
it.
is no autism society here.
Okay,
yes.
But I will tell you this, there are plenty of children that have autism, and it will help you very much to go through this journey with someone else who has a child similar in age to your child.
I'm sure that was a life-saving for both of you.
It was. And,
It was.
And when we had Pluck, that was a wonderful
And that was Parents
resource.
Let's
Unite for Kids.
Unite with the congressman, or who was the director of that?
Roger Holt.
Roger
Yes.
Holt was the director for many years, and then
Yeah. But, and then learn the state services, go on DPHHS and learn those, and visit with your parents, visit with your speech therapist, visit with your OT. I had speech therapists. I relied more on outside of the school setting for Logan's services and things like that, for speech, OT, and behavioral, and they became my best friends, and they supported Logan for years and still do. So that stays continual also.
and we had several incidents here with our son in school.
Oh, you did.
Yes, we did. And so actually we ended up getting an attorney, and I found my son locked in a back room by the aid. So that's
we
to
all
make a
had
long
that.
story short.
Yeah.
We ended up going to the school with an attorney, and they brought in Aware, and Aware started the what was the name of that school? Because both of our kids went. The
Enterprise Learning Center.
Enterprise Learning Center. And so they, Zachary went there, and so did Logan, and then there were some other children that just did not fit in the system, and that went. That's
that got
where
us through their school years. It did.
They graduated from high school there.
I am really sorry. I need to cut you short. We are just about out of time.
Isn't that
you
something?
two are so right. I wrote that script with the questions, and you said we only need 4 or 5 questions. I really thank you. I wish we could talk more, and maybe we can in another one of these sessions.
Okay.
Because clearly, to some people, this has been hopeless, and you found hope.
And our
help.
son lives at home.
And we are out of time. I thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you.
I'm
Thanks,
Kathleen
Kathleen.
Benoit. Thank you. We'll see you again.